Is it any wonder why he ended up with the worst grades in the class, with such a biased woman like you teaching the class?
r/EntitledParents. What is up, guys? Mr. Reddit here, back with another episode of Entitled Parents Stories. r/EntitledParents is one of my favorite subreddits, and I really enjoyed making this. Now kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. Our first story we'll be reading today is called Entitled Aunt Tries to Pick the Lock on the Door to My Sister and I's Room. This story comes from user number 31. After that, we'll be reading Entitled Mother Enters My Office Uninvited, Demands a Meeting Right Now. This story comes from user brother_p. And after that, we'll be finishing up with Entitled Mom Tries to Get Teacher, my mom, to pass her lazy demon spawn of a child. We'll be looking at both part 1 and part 2. And this story comes from user adeadlyman123. Thank you to our authors for allowing us to enjoy their stories, and welcome to our newest subscribers, Sebastian, Nico, and Firestone. And if you're new, subscribe now for new stories from Reddit every single day. Entitled Aunt Tries to Pick the Lock on the Door to My Sister and I's Room. Cast: we've got me, the majestic gummy bear, Sarah, my twin, Kevin, my service dog, and woman who is dead to me. Entitled cousin, cousin who is also dead to me, and my uncle, Sarah and I's uncle. Sorry for any errors in advance. My aunt came to spend the week with us while she was in town. As a result, this was by far the worst week of my life so far. Aunt is the type of person who firmly believes that a guest basically owns everything, and the host should do everything in their power to accommodate the guest regardless of any reason. Before anyone asks, no, Aunt didn't go crazy whenever we didn't give her something either she or cousin wanted. Aunt would either huff and mutter under her breath or make it a point that everyone knew how unhappy she was by talking about it loudly on the phone. But cousin, however, would act like we just murdered his firstborn. At first, everything was fine. Uncle explained the extensive ground rules that Aunt and cousin needed to follow, that I was mute, and why I needed Kevin, along with how to differentiate between Sarah and I. We dye our hair differently. I'm not going to go into detail of the rules, except for the major one, which is also the one that cousin and subsequently Aunt took extreme issue with. Don't go into Sarah and number 31's room. Period. I know that Uncle went to great lengths to explain this rule and the importance of it. Why, you may ask? Because Aunt argued with Uncle about why the rule even existed, and Uncle ended up having to raise his voice, which quickly ended the argument altogether, finishing it with the threat of kicking Aunt and cousin out of the house if he so much as hears a hint about either of them trying to enter the room. Of course, Sarah and I quickly learned how seriously they took the rule. Now, the door to Sarah and I's room has 2 locks on it, a deadbolt and the doorknob lock. To those who may be wondering, Uncle had them installed per Sarah and I's request shortly after Uncle was granted full custody of us. Uncle, of course, has a key in case anything happens, but he respects Sarah and I's need for privacy, so he just calls for one of us if he needs us. For obvious reasons, neither aunt nor cousin were given a key. For the first 2 days, there wasn't any issue. As usual, I would go straight to our room so neither of them could try to interact with me. But that didn't stop cousin from incessantly knocking and asking to come in to play on our Xbox. Sarah would tell him no, but when she wasn't there, I'd just slide a note under the door which promptly said no. Cliché, yes, but neither Sarah nor I trusted cousin or aunt with our cell numbers, so notes were the next best thing. The 3rd day, Aunt was waiting for Sarah and I to get home.
Your cousin wants to play on your game system.
It's an Xbox.
So, can you please let him in so that he can play? It'll only be for a few hours, and you can sit with him if you want.
Sorry, but he's not allowed inside, and neither are you. But he is allowed to play on the Wii. It's already hooked up to the TV in the living room. I think the controllers are next to the Wii itself.
He thinks the games for it are too childish, and I agree. So, will you please let him in so that he can play? You two are working all day anyway, so it won't be a problem.
I would like to point out that the only Wii games we have is the Metroid Prime series and Metroid Other M. For those who haven't played those games, they are far from childish. Sarah pointed that out, but Aunt wasn't having any of it. To her, games in general were all childish, and we should let him in to play or move the Xbox into the living room. An option that was simply out of the question. Sarah unlocked the door and had to actively block Aunt from trying to step inside while we went into our room. Aunt didn't like this, but when Sarah casually asked if I had texted Uncle that we got home safely, Aunt backed off with a huff. Yes, Aunt made a point to not mention anything whenever Uncle was around. According to Sarah, both Aunt and cousin never talked about our room when he was home. They'd mind their own business or make small talk with Uncle. They eventually stopped trying to talk to Sarah after she yelled at cousin to leave her alone. The next day, Thursday, Uncle and Sarah had to go to the store for some things. I forgot what. I didn't think much of it and decided to play on the Xbox. Around maybe 4 hours, I lose track of time when playing. After they left, I heard an odd scratching noise at the door. It wasn't Kevin because he was sitting next to me. I texted Sarah asking if she and Uncle were back yet, but she replied saying that they were still at the store but would be home soon. By then, the doorknob was shaking, and I heard Aunt telling cousin to
Be careful.
and
You can't force the lock.
as soon as I heard that, I texted Sarah what was going on. Her text said, "Get on that other game that says you died a lot and turn the volume all the way up, like the time when you first played it." She was talking about Dark Souls 3, and it took me a moment to understand what she meant. Then it clicked. When booting the game up, it'll show 2 companies' game engines, not sure what the brand names are, or something along those lines. Then it'll play loud, choir-like music before showing the main menu. Basically, when I first got the game, my ears were ringing for almost 30 minutes, and Uncle was swearing every other word while yelling to turn the volume down. Since then, I have the TV muted, then slowly turn the volume up until it's at a comfortable level that isn't on par with an air raid siren blaring in your house. I wish I could say that the end result of Sarah's proposition was more satisfying, but it wasn't. Right after the loud blaring of dramatic choir music, I managed to catch what I presume was
Bad word.
subsequently followed by a heavy thud and then some smaller thuds. I guess the music startled cousin or aunt, and they tripped while trying to leave, but I don't know. The music is, as I said, really loud, and I had my headphones on because I didn't want my ears to be ringing for a while. According to Sarah, when she and Uncle questioned Aunt, she kept demanding to know what kind of games I'm playing, why I would play it so loud, and what reason would I have to play games in the first place. Aunt then accused me of ruining her nap and nearly giving her a heart attack in the process. When Sarah asked why she was trying to pick the lock, Sarah mentioned the 2 little statements I overheard. Aunt claimed to have no idea what Sarah was talking about and that I was clearly hearing things if I play games at that volume all the time. Aunt demanded that I apologize to her and cousin for having the TV at max volume and scaring Aunt like that, but Uncle immediately shot her down, telling her that if she ever dared to do that again, then he'd kick her out. When Aunt pointed out that he previously said he wouldn't hesitate to, Uncle said, "Well, if you'd prefer I immediately take the girls at their word, then the door is right over there." Sarah then explained that Aunt wasted no time in trying to correct herself and apologizing, but Uncle brushed her off. Aunt did a lot more, but that's for another post when I get the time. Now, you may be wondering why we wouldn't let Aunt or cousin into our room, why we didn't just move the Xbox in the living room. The reason is that Sarah and I have a very deep distrust towards anyone in general, double for anyone in our family, which was developed over the entirety of our time in high school, 5 years. When Uncle told us about Aunt's impending arrival, we really weren't sure what to think. To Sarah and I, our family is dead to us. So finding out that we had an aunt who hasn't disowned us was a bit of a shock, but we weren't about to welcome them with open arms. Uncle made our views very clear to Aunt and even went so far as to have her explain to Sarah that she understood our apprehensiveness. I couldn't bring myself to be there because of my anxiety about the whole situation, so Sarah explained it to me afterwards. So Aunt knew full well just why we were refusing to let either of them into our room where we spent a vast majority of our time. With Aunt and cousin in the house, Our room was the only place we could go to relax in peace, so we weren't about to let someone we only just met into our one place that we can call our own. I'll post some more stories about aunt and cousin if any of you would like to see more. Edit. For clarification, we think that aunt was trying to pick the lock to our room so that cousin could play on our Xbox, but we don't know for certain since aunt has kept denying that she tried in the first place. Now, a couple of people have pointed out something I failed to add, and I'm really sorry. Sarah and our uncle tried to meet aunt and cousin halfway when we asked about the Xbox. I tried to come out to get to know cousin because I felt that at least cousin deserved a chance. I'm a big fan of Metroid and thought that Metroid would be good to talk with him. He said he would give it a shot, which is why we moved the Wii into the living room. However, it was obviously not enough. He went back to asking and insisting that he play the Xbox in our room, which is strictly off limits. Even Uncle doesn't come into our room. Uncle explained this, so did Sarah, and both warned that he was close to crossing a lot of well-defined boundaries that were explained when they first showed up, which is why Sarah yelled at cousin when she did. Cousin refused to listen to reason, but Uncle almost managed to reach a middle ground where we were both fine with moving the Xbox into the living room. This next thing is something I had difficulty with adding in and just omitted it. Aunt became fed up with our back and forth, she admitted it, and told us to
Grow up and get over our childish insecurities already.
This was the first time she crossed a line, because remember that she had been told by Uncle why we were wary about her and cousin. So she knew why we had these childish insecurities, as she so eloquently put. Insecurities that were forced onto us by her brother, our father, and Uncle made sure that she knew about it since, according to Uncle, she had called him beforehand and told him that she
felt bad about how the family has treated us,
and she
wanted to see for herself if what the family is saying is true.
Understand that we really did try as best we could, but we have a hard enough time as it is, even going to see the therapist that was provided to us. So, asking us to just so casually trust two members that suddenly want to understand our side of things from our family that has made it their mission to harass us, and at one point even tried to have Uncle arrested under false charges, but also tried to have me committed to a mental hospital, which would have effectively separated me and Sarah, which is something that our family knows would kill us. Our reluctance and general distrust towards aunt and cousin is warranted. We did our best, but aunt showed just how much she really cared in that one statement. I hope this clears some things up for everyone. Next up we've got entitled Mother enters my office uninvited, demands a meeting right now. Long story. We've got the entitled mother, the secretary, and me. I am the principal of the only Catholic high school in a small town. As it is the case with most Catholic high schools, mine has a uniform for students. Once a month, usually the last Friday, we allow students to wear their own clothes. However, there is a dress code in place for those days that applies to all students. No tank tops, low-necked tops, sleeveless tops, etc. I won't get into a debate about it. That's the way it is. So one recent Friday, a young girl was sent to the office by her female teacher because of her top, which is best described as a deep scoop-necked t-shirt. The girl is 15 and well-developed. The secretary referred her to me, and I glanced at her and quickly asked if she could put on a sweater or something. She agreed, and that was that. Or so I thought. The following Monday morning, a little after 9 a.m., I heard a commotion in the office outside my door. This is not unusual, as the office is pretty busy, and many staff, students, visitors, and parents are in and out all day and can get a little loud when they chat. I wasn't paying attention to what was going on until I heard my secretary say, "Well, I'll have to check with Mr. Brother P and see if he is available." She has a U-shaped desk, so it takes a moment or two to get around to approach my door. Before she could get around the desk, entitled Mom rushed past her into my office.
I want her down here so I can talk to all three of you,
she yelled back at the secretary. Excuse me, what? She cuts me off.
I need to talk to you right now about what happened with my daughter.
Now bear in mind that at this point, I didn't know A, who she was, B, who her daughter was, or C, what she was talking about. I'm sorry, Mr. Brother P. She came in before I could stop her.
Get that teacher right now. I want all three of you here.
Excuse me, I am in the middle of something right now.
I need to talk to you right now.
You can't be in here.
I am not happy about what happened.
And I'm not able to see you right now. I'm in the middle of preparing for a staff meeting.
This is more important than that. I left you a message Friday, and you didn't return my call. You are completely unprofessional.
The message had never been given to me, as we had a supply secretary answering phones in the office that Friday morning. She had written the message down on paper instead of connecting the parent to my voicemail, then forgot to give it to me. That said, I still didn't know who she was or what she was talking about. Aside from being disoriented, I was now growing annoyed. I didn't pass the message on to Mr. Brother P. We are very busy on Friday.
I don't care. I want to talk to you right now.
And you do not have an appointment. If you want to make an appointment, go back out and make one. You cannot just barge into my office and demand to see me.
I didn't.
You're standing right there.
I tried to call Friday, and you ignored me.
I did not get your message. I'm sorry. But I am busy now, and I don't have time to meet with you. You'll have to make an appointment.
I am an upset parent, and it is your job to talk to me. I have rights. I pay your salary. Are you going to talk to me?
No, I am busy, and you don't have an appointment. If you want to meet with me, you will have to make an appointment.
I can't believe this. This is more important than your stupid meeting. I am upset, and I need to discuss this with you and that teacher.
Like I was going to drag a teacher out of class. Nope. No, I am not available. You can make an appointment for later today or tomorrow.
I'm not available later. It has to be now.
I am not available now. Make an appointment. She walked out and left the building. The next day, I got a call from my superintendent, who is a good buddy of mine. According to her, she politely asked the secretary to see me. I grew hostile and abusive. She felt threatened and left in fear. She also complained that I had looked at her daughter in a way that made her feel uncomfortable. She also said she didn't see what was wrong with the top and mentioned that her daughter is a model, as if that mattered. She said some boys had told her daughter that she looked hot, which the teacher overheard and only sent her to the office because she was jealous. She said she and her daughter were fine with the boys leering at the daughter, but that I and the teachers have no business checking the students out and saying anything about their clothes. And our final story of the day, entitled Mom Tries to Get Teacher, my mom, to pass her lazy demon spawn of a child. We'll be looking at part 1 and part 2. Part 1. Spawn digs himself into a hole. A little backstory. My mom works as the mathematics teacher for my high school. Algebra, calculus. Being her son, I, as a result, have gained some of the best grades in the classes, thanks to her tutoring me, and I even offer to help anyone for free with the math. The only thing my mom doesn't do, however, is go easy on me or give me answers. I've earned my grades in her class, and I'm proud of it. Anyway, this story happened last year over the course of the last weeks before finals. Cast, we've got me, teacher, aka my mom, entitled parent, and demon Spawn. So, Spawn is just the worst type of person. Off-topic, loud, obnoxious, lazy, mean, dumb, just combine a goth who can't commit to being emo and a stereotypical jock bully who's too lazy to be a jock. You'll have an idea of who we're dealing with. My mom could tell he was struggling, so she wanted me to try and help him. All right, as I said above, I offered to tutor my peers for free, so it wasn't a big deal. So I had been trying to convince Spawn to let me help him in class, but he always had
more important things to do.
like drugs.
I don't need help from people like you.
Gets a 32 on the next assignment. After about a month of me offering to help and him saying no, I had given up. The next week, Spawn finally decided he needed help. We had a big test coming up, so a lot of my classmates were swallowing their pride and asking me for help. Conversation follows.
Hey man, I need help. You're gonna help me out after school.
Oh dude, I'm sorry, but I'm busy. A lot of people have asked for my help today.
That's BS. How come you can't do this for me, man?
Well, I've been trying to help you this entire semester, and
Don't lie to me, man. You never offered to help me.
okay, look, I'm not free today, but how about tomorrow?
But tomorrow's Saturday.
Yup. I'm free almost all afternoon, so we have plenty of time. We can meet here in school.
I ain't going to school on a freaking Saturday, you idiot.
Well, I have to work on Sunday and other tutoring sessions, so tomorrow is really your only option.
Ugh, this is bull, man.
Well, you don't have many options. How about noon?
Fine.
Fast forward to tomorrow, and Spawn doesn't show up. I'm waiting almost 3 hours. Luckily, I figured he'd be late, so I brought my homework and got it done. I leave. There's 2 more encounters like this before the test where he begs me to help him and then doesn't even show. I finally confront him about wasting my time when he asks for my help the day before.
Hey, I need you to help me.
Let me stop you right there. You've asked 3 times. If you don't show this time, I will not help you. Well, guess what? He didn't show up. He had the balls to show up at lunch and demand I help him. I politely told him to shut it. He got a 24 on the test and I got a 95. This process would continue throughout the year of asking for help and me saying no. One day, I finally said I'd help him, but we'd meet at his house. At 9 a.m., if I am not let in as soon as I arrive, I'm leaving. I arrive and go to the door, which swings open, practically slamming into me.
It's about time you showed up to one of these things for once.
Yes, I showed up for once. I walk inside. I swear to God, before I've even sat down at the table.
This is so embarrassing. I don't even know why I'm asking for your help. Someone as smart as me shouldn't have to be associated with you.
You're certainly correct about that.
I mean, really, we both know your mom lets you cheat. It's the only way someone like you can do so good in her class.
All right then. I hope you do well. I never even sat down and was already leaving.
What are you doing?
Well, like you said, someone as smart as yourself shouldn't have to be associated with me. I'm sure you'll figure it out, or at the very least, learn not to insult people who you need to help you.
How dare you?
Entitled Mom comes out from nowhere, sporting the classic Karen haircut and enough fat that she'd probably be confused for a whale. Sorry any whales reading this for comparing you to her, if she was at SeaWorld.
How dare you not help my angel?
Me in my mind. Oh, that explains a few things. Mrs., your son insulted me and not only seemed ungrateful for the time I'm—
Forget your time, you. I need help, you idiot. Don't you understand anything?
What do you possibly have to do that's more important than helping my baby?
Not get screamed at, mostly. I began to leave. The 2 scream profanities at me, and Entitled Mom throws a cold McDonald's coffee on me. I was done and got into my car and left. This was the 2nd week before finals, and the next week all hell broke loose. My mom and I were looking over assignments for all the classes, seeing what was missing so we could remind whoever was missing them so they could get it in. Spawn has 13. My mom makes Spawn a deal. If he can get all missing assignments in, she'll give him full credit. Won't count points off for being late. But only if all 13 are done by Friday of that week. What follows is him begging me for help, and me deciding it'd help me review for the test. He actually showed up, and we worked through the assignments. He was decent throughout it, nothing worth mentioning. Anyway, Friday rolls around, and he had got them finished. Not well. Despite my best efforts, he seemed to enjoy not listening to my help. But they got done. Friday comes and goes, and he bombs. And he has the gall to blame me and my mom for his failures, and tried to imply that we had some vendetta against him. I mean, I do, but I didn't sabotage him or try to do anything. My mom tried everything to help him, and gave him more than enough chances to help him. His failures were his own. By the end, Spawn was sitting around a D. Part 2 will be my mom's story about Entitled Mom's level 100 speechcraft efforts to have my mom pass Demon Spawn after the final. This is getting increasingly popular, so just in case, here's hoping, thank you r/Voicey, Misery, etc. for maybe, possibly, in the near future deciding to feature me in a video. Part 2. The Whale Moans. Cast is the same and setup is literally part 1, so let's dive in. One difference, T is just gonna be my mom now, cause it's easier for me. It's the first day of summer break, and grades are still coming in as finals and last-minute turn-ins still need to be checked. My mom found a letter in the mail addressed to her from Entitled Mom. For some reason, she wrote the entire message to my mom except one phrase on the letter. Not inside, like where you would if you were a normal person, but on the outside. It was really long-winded, so here's the important part.
And if all that's not enough, look inside.
Mom opens the letter. In it, she found $200, and the only thing written that was in the normal spot.
And there's more of this if you happen to find extra credit that you forgot to add onto Spawn's work.
My mom took the money because it's $200, but didn't give Spawn any extra credit. Entitled Mom later emailed my mom another long-winded essay and asked her to discuss Spawn at the school. Now, our school apparently has a policy that if requested, a teacher cannot refuse an audience by parents if the meeting is planned to be at school, so Mom had to go. The next day rolls around, and my mom leaves. I'm playing games with my friends, so this is now her story as she told me. Mom arrives 1 hour early and waits for them. The time for the meeting comes and goes. She waits an hour after the planned time. I guess lateness is genetic. Before they arrive, my mom describes that she could feel every tremor caused by Entitled Mom when she walked. Entitled Mom and Demon Spawn walk in with the biggest smirks ever and say,
So, how much extra credit has my darling boy earned?
He was given almost 24.
Sweet. 24?
That's fantastic. I knew I could count on you.
Chances for extra credit throughout the year, which easily would have brought his grade up from a D to a C-. However, he never did turn anything in.
Oh, I see. $300 then. Would that have made him turn in the extra credit?
No. A vein practically pops out of Entitled Mom's head.
What do you mean, no?
I mean no. Your son failed this class on his own. I tried to help.
Hey, that's bull. You never tried to help me.
What did you mean he failed this class? Didn't you get the letter?
Whilst I thank you for your letter and the gift inside, I'm afraid I can't pass your son because you gave me a bribe.
It's not a bribe. It's incentive to finally grade all of my son's extra credit.
Of which there is none.
Oh, that's like horse crap. I did like 50 of them, man.
My mom has always given him a hipster voice and told a story like this. So, hipsters.
Did you hear that? 50? Oh, my darling is such a hard worker. Unlike your spoiled cow of a son.
I'm sorry?
That's right. I said it. And unless you want me to report you for unfairly judging my child while giving that idiot hundreds on everything, you'll fix the grades right away.
Like, see, Mom? She doesn't even have the guts to deny it.
That's right. Don't say anything after all. It's your fault that my son failed. You're a freaking failure of a teacher. Not to mention, your son always hated my son.
Because he bullied me, so I won't get into specifics.
Is it any wonder why he ended up with the worst grades in the class, with such a biased woman like you teaching the class?
Demon Spawn and Entitled Mom laugh hysterically like they've pushed my mom against the wall. Ma'am?
Have you come to your senses? Oh, when can we expect to see the grades change?
Ma'am, within half an hour you have tried to bribe me, insult me, attempt to claim you've done work which you clearly haven't.
Yes, I did, Mom. She's like totally lying.
You hear that we're onto you. We can see through your lies, you whore.
But not only all that, you had the gall to insult my son?
Psh, when did that happen?
I told you, Mom. She's crazy.
I want both of you out of my office now, and I won't be teaching your son next year. We live in rural Nebraska, and my mom's the only mathematics teacher of the only high school in, 100 miles. So this is a huge nail in the coffin for these two.
What do you mean you won't be teaching him next year?
Her face apparently twisted back into the same smirk she came in with.
Oh, You're resigning. Aren't you afraid of what will happen after we report you for playing favorites?
No, I will not be teaching your son. If I'm such a biased person, and he's such a hard worker, and I'm somehow responsible for his failures to grasp even the most basic concepts, I'm certain he can do far better with you teaching him.
But
That's BS. Like, you can't do this.
Thank you for helping me come to this conclusion. It's truly the best option. For all parties, you get a personalized, unbiased teaching, and
But what if he doesn't pass your class? How do you expect my baby to get into Harvard, you idiot?
Even if I did, she wanted to say, even if I did pass your son, he'll never get into Harvard. He'd be lucky to get into a field in fast food, let alone Harvard. But before she could, Spawn says this.
Is this like payback for me keying your car last week or something?
I'm sorry, what? Spawn and Entitled Mom, realizing that Spawn messed up, bolted out of there. Spawn did, and Entitled Mom stomped angrily in what my mom can only assume was her best effort to cause an earthquake to being down the school. Honestly, it's probably the first bit of exercise she had had in years. When they had left, a really beaten down looking man entered briefly, saying, "Sorry about that. I tried." Before leaving, apparently he was the father of Spawn. Spawn moved to a different school over summer. Here's hoping that Spawn can get away from all that, though. With how big his mom is, I don't think there's anywhere to run that she can't reach. Thanks for reading. Also, if this ends up on any r/EntitledParents videos, please post the link in comments so I can see. Also, to answer a question some have been asking, no, we won't be taking Entitled Mom and Spawn to court over the Keen, mainly because we have no actual evidence to support our claim other than, trust us, he admitted to it. As my mother didn't film her meeting with them and the Keen wasn't caught on camera, so we can't do jack. It also doesn't help that they moved to God knows where.
Leave a comment that says "Ree," or my demon spawn will key your car. For extra fun, reply to a bunch of comments by saying "Ree."
I'm serious, you guys. You don't know how hard I laugh when I see all those rees in the comments. That's all for now, but don't be blue. I'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Reddit every night, so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright.